Sometimes I think about how strange it is, how the dream we grew up with chasing in the West, the house, the car, the career, somewhere along the way, it started feeling more like a trap than a dream. And what's even crazier is that I had to come all the way here to the Philippines to wake up to that truth. Tonight, or morning here in the Philippines, I want to share something that changed the way I see everything. We're going to look at what's really happening to families in the West versus here in the Philippines, and why more and more people are realizing that peace, faith, and family might actually be the new American dream. And if you stay till later, I'm going to tell you something personal about what I learned the hard way here, just when I first came here. It's about the two kinds of women you'll meet in the Philippines, and how waking up to that reality shaped everything I understand about love, family, and culture. So stick around for that, because it's one of the most eye-opening experiences I've ever had. All right, so let's get into it. So I have 13 of these slides I want to share today, and I wrote down my thoughts, and this is data, accurate information. So you see the title there, What If the Real American Dream in the Philippines? What if the real American dream is in the Philippines? It isn't a place here in the Philippines, but it's a way of life. See, back in the 1950s, families in the West looked a lot like what we see in small towns here in the Philippines. Dinner together, strong communities, faith, kids playing outside. But slowly, the dream got traded for busyness, for isolation, and eventually for loneliness. That's what led me to start digging into these numbers, just to see if the feeling I had was real or just nostalgia. Have you ever felt like the world you grew up in doesn't feel like home anymore? Type yes in the chat if you felt that. Right here it says 1.14 million Western expats in the Philippines. That's crazy. Why? What the numbers show is 474,000 family-oriented migrants. That's us. And the Philippines fertility rate is 1.88. So that means the average size, like the average new babies that are coming are 1.88. which is a lot higher than other places. And we'll get into what this says down here, legal prohibitions. We'll just there's only 2 countries worldwide, the Philippines and the Vatican City, that completely ban divorce. And I don't know if that's going to be changing soon. Marriage is legally permanent. No cultural preference, but legal structure. All right, let's go to the next slide. You guys can look at these numbers talk about some points I want to make here. Just take a look at these numbers. It's accurate information. So, as you're looking at this chart, just know, back in 1957, marriage rates in the U.S. were at their peak. And family life felt steady. But as you can see here, those numbers started collapsing. Look at the fertility rate down there. Divorce rates climbed, birth rates dropped, and now fewer people than ever are even getting married. By 2030, because I mapped this out from 1950s, and the peak was like 1957 for America, fertility rates were like 3 point something, and I mapped this all the way out to 2030. So by 2030, projections show the traditional family model might become a minority in Western countries. It might already be right now, but it's by 2030, definitely. Now, I'm not showing this to criticize anyone. I lived in that system too. But when a culture starts to lose faith, family, and shared purpose, something inside us breaks too. That's when many of us start looking for something more grounded. Now tell me, where are you watching from tonight? And it's daytime here in the Philippines, but if you're watching from somewhere in the West or in the globe where it's night, tell me where you're watching from. Drop your city or province in the chat. I'd love to see how far our little global family has reached. All right, let's go to the next slide. And I'm just going to change the title here. So I might be a little slow on the movements here. Faith and belonging. So you can see the fertility rates, 3.62, what I was talking about in 1957 right there. Now this slide, when I look at it, really sticks with me. I think I want to also go, let me just check something here. Yeah. Religious attendance in the US and Europe has dropped below 30%. In the Philippines, it's still around 70 to 80%, and we'll get to some of those slides in a little bit. It's not about religion as rules. It's about rhythm. Life here still pauses for prayer. Families still go to church together. People still say God bless, and they mean it. And when I first experienced that here, it reminded me of my childhood when community still meant something. And that's when it clicked for me. Maybe we're not meant to chase comfort. Maybe we're meant to chase connections. I'm just going to go through this for a second. Okay. This is all 20 Western countries below replacement by 2030. And the Philippines is right around this number. It's a little lower. But I'm going to talk about some of the differences in the Philippines. But South Korea is like 0.75%. That means they're not having babies, you guys. Here's another major difference that we're going to get into too, is respect for elders. In much of the West, older generations are often separated. It's mostly like that. Retirement homes, distance, independence. But in the Philippines, that connection is still sacred. Grandparents are part of the home. Their wisdom shapes the next generation. And I've come to believe when you remove elders, you remove roots. That's what the West has lost. And that's what many of us are trying to rebuild here in the Philippines. So how many of you grew up with your grandparents close by? Type yes if you miss that connection. And some of you in the Philippines still have that, but if you're in the West, I'm sure that's been long lost. So in one of the slides I'm going to get to in a few minutes, let me see if I can find it now. This is the one I was looking for. So out of the 1 point that I just showed, 1.2 million, 474,510 Western families chose the Philippines. And here's why. Just take a look at this chart, you guys. Now, here's where it gets real. In the last decade, thousands of Westerners, especially Americans, have relocated to Southeast Asia. The Philippines is one of the top choices. And when you look at the curve that I showed a little while ago on the charts, it's steep. This isn't random. This is people waking up. And people like me, like us, we're not running away from something. We're running towards. What are we running towards? We're running towards something. Maybe it's peace. Maybe it's community. Maybe it's belonging. When I left America, I didn't fully understand why. But now, years later, it's clear. I was searching for something that still existed here. Let's go to some other slides here. This talks a little bit about the reality, Philippines versus Western family experience, and there's some cost here. So let's talk about some of these costs. And I want to switch this one also. The cost of living versus quality of life. And I'll get into the chat in just a few minutes. So just drop stuff in the chat. Drop your comments in there. And I'll get to it in just a little bit. This is where, to me, this is where it gets real. The ones practical, you know, the people that need like data to like rational mind. That's why I put this here, the cost of living versus quality of life, because this one's practical and it's powerful. Even in the West, with a higher income, families are still living, most people, paycheck to paycheck. Meanwhile, here in the Philippines, life may be simpler, but it's richer in other ways. You trade a little luxury for peace of mind. You trade chaos for connection. And honestly, that's a trade I'd make every single time. But peace doesn't come from lower rent. It comes from the people. And that leads me into something deeper I want to share next. This is one that's going to kind of, I think it's going to piss off some people when I say this. And some people will agree with me, but I have to share this. And it might not be, when you read that headline, it might not be what you think. And I'll just kind of cruise around on the slides here as I talk. The two types of women in the Philippines. Get ready for this one. Just take a look at the slide up there, you guys. Now, I want to share something real, something that I learned the hard way when I first came here. When you arrive in the Philippines, especially as a foreigner, there are two very different types of women you might meet. There's one type that's on the dating apps, and she's often talking to several foreigners at once. It's not that you're special, you're an opportunity. Whoever shows up in the Philippines first gets the chance. But when your ticket runs out, emotionally, financially, or just when she's done, that opportunity moves on. I've seen it with my own eyes. In the early mornings, I used to walk past big internet cafes in the cities, rows of women talking online all night to men abroad. It broke my heart. Not because I judged them, because I understood the desperation and the game. But there's another type of woman here. One like my wife. She wasn't looking for a foreigner. She was just living her life. Working. Family-centered. No dating apps. Not chasing an image. We met by chance here in the Philippines. She grew to love me for who I am, not what I could give. And when I came here at that time, I was 44 years old, so I was relatively young, closer in age to my wife. And now I'm 60 years old. I've been here almost 16 years. But when I saw that, she grew to love me for who I am, not what I could give, because at that time I didn't have anything to give. And that's where everything changed. Because when you find someone who loves simply and sincerely, it's no longer about escape. It's about home. If you've seen both sides of that reality, type real type in the chat. All right, before we move on, I want to just check out the chat. What's going on here? Let me stop sharing for a minute. Let's check out the chat and just see if we have any messages here. Hey, Joey. Good morning, Sir George. Good morning to you too, Sir Joey. Hope you're okay there. Hope today's a more stable day for you over there. Hi, Leanne. Good to see you. Hope you're okay in Cebu there. Good morning to you also, madam or ma'am. All right, we're going to move on here. And I'm going to make it so you guys can see me and the screen. And I have a few more of these to share with you. There we go. I hope you guys can see that. Can you guys tell me if you can see that? Just leave a message in the chat if the screen's okay that size or if you need it bigger. Please drop a message in the chat and tell me. And I'll wait for that before we move on. Tell me if you can see this in the screen, if it shows up well. Just type in the chat, yes, it shows up well. I can see it. I can see the numbers. Or tell me if you need it to be bigger. If anybody can leave that message. Joey, Leanne, or anybody watching. And then I'll move on as soon as I see the message. So even though the Philippines, their fertility rate also is lower, it's not nearly as close as other countries in the West. And the big reason I think for that, the big difference, even if it is a little lower, is because yes, it's a relief of the devastation. Life must go on here. Yes, Joey. That's true. You guys, can you tell me if the numbers here, if you can see them, if it's big enough for you? The screen. I really need to know before I move on. Just drop in the chat and tell me it's big enough or it's too small. Make it bigger. Make it bigger, George. And then I can do that. Just one person drop in the chat and tell me if this screen share is too small. I'm waiting for that to move on, please. Is this screen too small? Can you see Philippines family gets enormous support, Western families don't? Does that show up? Please tell me in the chat. It's too small or I can see it well. I'm waiting for someone to answer. I'll move on as soon as someone answers. Is the screen share too small or you can see it good? You can see it well. I'll wait for one person to drop that in the chat and then we'll move on. Otherwise, I'm just going to stay here. Let me check Facebook. If someone can answer on Facebook, Rumble, or YouTube, can you see the screen share well, or do I need to make it bigger? I hope someone will answer me. Otherwise, it's going to be boring because we'll just stay here. One person, please answer. I'm checking Facebook if someone will answer. One last time, you guys. I might just end the video here if no one can answer me. There's 5 people in the chat. Can you tell me in the chat? Leave me a message. Can you see my screen share well, or do I need to make it bigger? If no one answers me, I'll just end the live stream now. It's a little small on my phone and blurry when I zoom, but I can't, but continue. Okay, I'll just make it bigger. I'll make me smaller. Thank you, David, for answering. I appreciate that. I'll make me smaller and it bigger. There, let's try this one. Okay, I think that'll be a little better. Let me move on. Thank you, David, for letting me know. All right. So let's move on here. So I think you guys can see that slide a little better. Yeah, I think that's good right there. And I'm just going to be talking about some points, and it might not be on the slide, but I'm just going to be covering some points here that when I think of things. Okay, so we just covered the 2 types of women. Let's go to family and cultural expectations. When you marry into a Filipino family, you marry into the culture. And you hear people say that, but what does that mean? Well, I'm not a teacher. I'm not someone that's gonna tell you how to live your life and what to do, but I'm just always sharing my experiences. And that's what I speak from. So I am not an expert. I'm always a student of the province. So when you marry into the culture, it means when someone's sick, you help. When there's a funeral, you show up. When times get hard, you share what you can. It's not just about money, it's about your presence. That's something the West has forgotten. Family means everyone. You know, and I think David mentioned this the other day. I think it was you, David. We have our privacy. And for me, it was very hard at first. But over time, I just kept showing up. And when I didn't feel like it, it started to soften me. It started to soften my heart. And then it changed me. It reconnected me with what I believe a man is supposed to be: a protector, a provider, and a quiet leader rooted in faith. If the trends continue, by 2030, the majority of Western families will be non-traditional, fewer marriages, fewer children, more isolation. Meanwhile, in the Philippines, even through tough times, even though times are changing, the values still hold. Family, faith, gratitude. It's not perfect, but it's alive. So as we look at this chart, the Philippines advantage: not more babies, better family life. Quality of family experience, not quantity of children. So countries can push out trying to get people to have more babies, but that's not it at all. They're missing the point. The Western family reality, fertility rates similar to Philippines, but both are below replacement. In the Western family reality, parents are isolated and overwhelmed. Expensive childhood burden, limited family support systems, nuclear family stress. Meanwhile, in the Philippines, fertility rates similar to West, it's a little higher. Both are below replacement, that's the truth. But there's cultural support for families. It's dramatically different here. You have the extended family eager to help. Community raises children together. Multi-generational wisdom sharing. That's huge, you guys. Here's what I've realized. I'm just going to say it straight up. Gratitude and faith as anchors. Think about that for a minute. Gratitude and faith as anchors. $1.14 million Western expats can't be wrong. No matter what people say online, how could 1.14 million Western expats from Western countries like America, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, here's what I've realized. Peace isn't about where you live. It's about what you live for. The people here in the Philippines remind me of that every single day. You can have less and still feel full, because gratitude turns simplicity into abundance. That's the heartbeat of the real dream. Faith that anchors you, family that grounds you, and gratitude that keeps you awake. There's a phrase I keep coming back to. You don't change countries to escape life. You change to find it again. Let me repeat that. You don't change countries to escape life. You change to find it again. The Philippines didn't fix me. It revealed me. It revealed who I am. It stripped away everything I thought I needed. And it showed me what truly matters. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. And for many of us in the West, it takes a big fall for that to happen. But not everybody. Some people wake up without that happening. But for me, it took a big fall. It stripped away everything so I could see who I truly am. It revealed the deepest part of what I am and what resides in all of us. The wake-up call. Just thinking. So, what does this mean for the future? It means the next generation is watching us. They're watching how we live, how we love, and what we value. Maybe this shift from comfort to connection, it's exactly what we need to heal. And maybe, just maybe, the American dream isn't gone. It's just moved. So here's where I'll leave you tonight, and we can talk about it. I'll go to the chat. And when I say tonight, it's daytime in the Philippines. I'm talking about if you're watching from the West. If you've ever felt like you don't belong in the world you grew up in, maybe it's not that you changed. Maybe it's the world. And maybe like me, you're being called somewhere simpler. Somewhere that still remembers. The Philippines reminded me what life is supposed to feel like. And I always say this: faith, family, and gratitude. That's the real dream. When I say faith, family, and gratitude, of course, that's a place where we can worship God. But when we have faith and family, and we know that we can depend on that, that's the real dream. I'd love to know, what does home mean to you? In the chat, please tell me. What does home mean to you? Type one word in the chat that captures it. What does home mean to you? Maybe I should type that in here. Leave a comment with one word. What does, I'm just typing this out. What does home mean to you? Now I got to find it. Here it is. So leave this in the chat. What does home mean to you? It's going scrolling across the bottom. What does home mean to you? And you know, when I was in Cebu, and that was part of waking me up. There's two things that woke me up. When I got nudged for the first wake up, when I first came here, my first year, when I was with the first person that, just like a lot of other people, I was on a dating app, and I met someone, and I thought it was only me. And I was talking to her for over 2 years. We'd meet at least 2 or 3 times weekly on video chat. We'd be typing each other every day. And then when I came here and was in that high rise, and then she came over, and then she left her cell phone with me so I could reach out to her when she went to work. And this was what some people would call the high class kind of woman. They had money. Her family was stable. They were pretty rich. That's what people would call the high class Filipino woman. But I don't play in those games anymore, because you can't judge people like that. You can't make assumptions, because that person, when she left me her phone, I saw text messages coming across when I was using the phone where other expats were talking to her and saying really crude things, sexual innuendos. And it wasn't just one, it was a number of men from the West that were speaking English and messaging her that when I saw that. I should have left right there. And I started crying. I was what people say a simp, right? I wasn't a simp. I had to learn, and I learned the hard way. At that time, there wasn't YouTubers. Around 16 years ago when I came here, there wasn't YouTubers talking about this stuff. And I probably want to listen to them anyway. I just needed to go through that. And so I saw that, and I didn't leave. And her sister was there with me, and I asked her sister, look at this. She's talking to other people. I thought I was special. I said those words as I was crying. When I look back, it's funny now, but back then it wasn't funny. My whole life was shattered. And her sister reached out to my girlfriend at that time and told her, you better come home. And she's a nurse from a rich family. And she came home and said, no, you're the one. And I said, why? I see this. You're talking to other expats. So I'm not important to you. Why did you pick me? I asked her. And she told me, because you're the first one that came. You're the one that showed up. So that really shook my world and started to wake me up. That's when the waking up started happening. So anyway, when I was fully disconnected a year later, I was gone. And then when I met Caroline, by chance, I didn't know her. She wasn't on dating apps. She was from the province, but she was in Cebu at that time. She was from the province, raised by an old-fashioned family, a strict father that cared about teaching her the old ways. And that's how her brothers, there's 9 of them in total, her brothers and sisters all learned in a strict, old-fashioned province way. And I didn't meet her from a dating app. She wasn't on dating apps. She wasn't on social media. She was just working, trying to support her family the best she could. And when I met her by chance, and we were together, and I was taking my time, we were taking our time, and I realized that. I woke up to that. And then during that time when I was with Caroline, during my first 5 years with her, 3 to 5 years, probably more like 3 years, that's when I saw, it was probably 2 years, because by the 3rd year we were already in the province. But that's when I walked by a huge internet cafe, and I saw in the early morning hours, I saw between 10 to 20, it's probably closer to 20, women deep. When I looked on their computer screens as I was passing, because you can see everything, the way that one was set up at that time, I could see their computer screens. They were all talking to Western men. That's what I saw. I saw a man's face on video chats. And this is a early morning, so in the evening in America, in the early evening time in America for most places. Or if it's places like California or Oregon, something like that, it was probably like 3 in the morning. At those times is when I was walking by. Around 6 a.m. Or 6 p.m., 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's when they were talking to these men. And I wasn't blaming them, but it crushed me because I realized this is the way it is. You're something like a game, but to them, maybe they don't even realize it's a game, but they're just trying for whatever reason, survival, an opportunity. And they know when you come over here, you don't know this. You don't know. You're fresh off the boat. You don't know that this exists. And so they play that the best to their opportunity, maybe without even knowing. But some of these women I've seen them over the years I've been here. I've seen them in the province also. There's women that play those games, and they're with someone, and maybe that person passed on, or maybe they broke up and they're on to the next one. And the other reason is because you as an expat, when you come here, you're seen as temporary, like transition, because you're not. Most expats that come here, are you really planning on staying the rest of your life here? Or are you transitory? You're going to be moving on. So of course, why would they put their whole heart into you if you're going to be moving on? So you're more of an opportunity for financial opportunity for some of these women. I'm not saying everybody's like that, but my wife, the women that are like her type of the second type, she never asked me for anything. Her family never asked me for anything. But naturally, when you get married and you're with them over the years, in their culture, you have to accept that part. If you're gonna be a person like me that's deep in the culture, you're married, you choose to stay here, I would never take my wife back to America, and my wife never would want to go there because she's not that type of woman that's just thinking financially. She's thinking we can lift each other up here in the Philippines, and we can do good enough for her family. And for us, we're doing fine because for us, we have a deep, deep faith in God, and we don't think there's anything impossible to God. But to humans, yeah, but it depends on your mindset, because our success, and I would say quite successful, not bragging, but just so you know, financially becoming quite successful without having to go back to America, without being retired. Because just coming up with ideas and then my wife implementing those ideas legally, and then having God in the game, having family support, we did all those things here in the Philippines, where people would say it's impossible or you're a fool. That's why when you have faith, the true faith, and know what you are, it's not shakable, because you know that there is no obstacles that God can't overcome. And it doesn't mean I'm a Bible thumper, I'm just beating the Bible over people's head. I'm not telling you how to live. I'm telling you that's what I chose in my life, was God first. And God first to me isn't going to church every week or every day. God first is when I wake up, the first thoughts that are coming is, maybe negative thoughts will come, but right away I'm aware and I'm shifting that to God. God can overcome anything. I am healthy, I am wealthy, I'm successful. If I put those as my first awakening words, God can overcome any obstacle. So there's no such thing as an obstacle, it's a delusion in man's mind. Health, wealth, success. Health, wealth, success. I am healthy. I am wealthy. I am successful. I am loved. I am important. I mean something here. Then those thoughts become granite. And I no longer, when the negative thoughts come, you just laugh at them because you're aware, you woke up. What do people say? The red pill and the blue pill. You woke up. People say simp, all these stupid words. That's a really stupid way to judge people. Call them a simp. They just are not aware. You're no better than them because you are aware. Maybe one day they'll wake up and realize what they are. But for many of us, we have to fall. We have to be broken to realize what we are. Because we have to rediscover God. God is everywhere. God is within us. God is in the trees. God is in the roads. God is in the flowers. God is in the person, the stranger that's passing you by. And God is inside you too. He's inside all of us. So you can say, I am God, without being humble Garo or thinking you're something more powerful, because you realize when you say, I am God, you realize that God is more powerful than you, than I. But you'll say, I am God, because you know that I am part of the divine. I am a piece of the divine. So if I am a piece of the divine, it means I am the whole. And you know that God is everywhere. God is in all things. And you're so grateful and thankful for that opportunity to be alive, because your whole mind shift changes. So the type of woman that you will meet, just like me, once you wake up to it, you will start attracting the right type of woman. And don't listen to other people. You don't even have to listen to me. Other people will say you need the high-class woman or you need the province woman. And don't go for a married woman that was married and has one child or two child. Do not listen to what other humans say. Wake up to what you are and then listen to the divine that is within you. And say these words. The divine within now come forth. The genius within is now shining forth. You can say it in different ways. The genius within is now shining forth. The God within now shines forth. The divine within now shines forth. Just know what's inside you. That's my prayer for my children also, that they will discover what lies inside them that is dormant until you discover it, until we discover it. And then once we discover it, that's when life begins. Don't listen to us YouTubers. Don't listen. We're just giving our experiences and no one's an expert. The things I talk about are my personal experiences, and I like to tell you how I am a married American expat from the West that is living with 4 children, ages from 5 to 16 now at this point, that's been here almost 16 years in the Philippines, in the province life. That's what I share. That's what I know. And other people that are in the province, other foreigners, might have a totally different experience. I just share mine to give hope to other people, but I have to share the reality too. So let's go to the chat. Any other things you guys want to say in the chat, and I'll share it here. Drop your messages. Tell me where you're from. Tell me what you're grateful for. Drop it in the chat, you guys. And if you're just getting here, go back and watch this from the beginning. There's a lot of pauses and reflections, but you'll get to the point of what I'm talking about. And I'm talking about both sides, the red pill and the blue pill. That's what people call it. And see if you agree, if you get hurt, or whatever you feel. Just watch the whole video. Okay, anything in the chat you guys want to drop? I'm looking on YouTube here. I know people are. Just tell me what home means to you. In one word, tell me what home means to you. To me, it means belonging. That's the one word I would choose. If I would choose one word to say what home means to me, I'd say it's belonging. All right, you guys, I'm going to end it there. And if you're watching this after, just put in the comment section. If you got this far, just tell me, because I really want to know, and I'm going to read all the comments. If there's one or if there's 100, I'm going to read them. What does home mean to you in one word? All right, and we'll say bye for now. See you on the next one.